Hi guys! So today I'm doing something a little bit different. As you can see, I'm recording on my phone. We're gonna see how this goes. But if you're watching it, then all worked out. So today I want to talk about my spirituality versus my practice. So the difference for me is my spirituality is my belief system, my spirituality. And my practice is my magical practice, how I work with magic and what I do to practice magic. The reason I'm distinguishing between the two is because some people have a spirituality or belief system when it comes to paganism, Wicca, and that's it. And they don't do any type of magical practice. They don't practice witchcraft at all. And other people just practice witchcraft and magic. They don't have a spirituality or a religion. They don't work with or use paganism or Wicca. They simply just have a magical practice and practice magic and witchcraft. So I wanted to define those two for y'all. So for my spirituality, my spiritual practice really comes down to a reverence for the earth and a respect for nature and the elements, the animals and flora, fauna that exist in nature. It's also about honoring the seasons and the changing of the seasons, the changing of nature, and just honoring it, just honoring the beauty of it. I gotta show you guys. Look at some cute little raspberries are starting to grow. Or I'm sorry, blackberries. Those should turn into blackberries. We will have a bunch of blackberries. And apparently we're going to be making blackberry wine. We just made blueberry wine. And we're just about to make strawberry wine. And then in autumn, we're going to make apple wine and pear wine. So I have lots of wine that we are making here. Let's get back on topic though. My spirituality to me really just does come down to a reverence for nature. So I do have a Wicca practice. I do work with the concept of a goddess and god, but for me that is the understanding that there is male and female energies in everything, in myself, in nature, and you can find, feminine and masculine within nature. And I work with that as my understanding of the goddess and god in my practice. So I work with a goddess and god. To me, it's primarily the earth is the goddess and nature is the god, but I also do have the Lady and Lord of the Greenwood and the Lady and Lord of the Wildwood. And I also work more with the goddess being the flora and the god being the fauna. I work with the seasons. I celebrate the 8 Sabbats, but for me the Sabbats are about, sorry if you can hear that, for me the Sabbats are about honoring the changing of the seasons and the middle of the season. So Lunasaw is usually the marking the middle of summer, whereas Litha marks the beginning of summer or the transition from spring to summer. It really does mark also the height of the sun. So there's different types of nature-based reasonings that I work with the Sabbats. I don't follow the mythos of Wicca. I don't follow deities. I don't follow the goddess and god as beings of any kind. I follow paganism in the sense that I follow an earth-based spirituality, and with following Wicca and paganism being within Wiccan practices as New Age beliefs, that's the extent of paganism I would say that I follow. With Wicca, I also do work with the tools. I do have athames, wands, pentacles, cauldron that I work with in my rituals. I do also work with and honor the Ispits. That for me is monthly energies for each Ispit, as well as the phases of the moon. And I also celebrate souls, S-O-L-S, Latin for sun. Those are my personal rituals for working with solar energy. So basically the opposite of an Ispit. So I work with solar energy, the sun phases, and I also work with the energies of the planets for those. And the last Sabbath, or the last celebration that I have, is elementums. And these are actually honoring and celebrating and working with, you gotta love nature, right? Working with the elements. And so with the 8 Sabbaths and 12 months out of the year, you have 4 months left where you don't have a Sabbath. And those 4 months, I have broken up into working with and celebrating the 4 elements: the earth, air, fire, and water. And I have my own rituals that I do for those. I gotta say, being out in the country, there's a lot of mosquitoes, and they love me. I must have really good blood because they love me. So that's my spirituality, is nature-based. I have my 4 different rituals that I do throughout the year: Sabbats, Ispits, Souls, Elementums. That's how I work with the goddess and god, as I said. And I do work with tools. My practice is very nature-based. For me, it's just about honoring the changing of the seasons, the season itself, what's happening in nature, the flora and fauna of nature, honoring and celebrating the moon phases and the energies of each month for spell work, the solar energy, planetary energy, and elemental energy, and working with each of those energies and what they bring to the table for magical use and spells and rituals, bringing certain things into my life, maybe doing a spell or just having a ritual for bringing those into my life. I also do have my coven, and we celebrate the Sabbats together, and hopefully in the future we'll also be celebrating the Ispits together. I don't expect them to work to celebrate the souls or elementums with me, because those are personal rituals that I've created just for my practice. I don't expect other people to be on board with that if you don't want to. And oh yeah, one more thing of my spirituality that I have recently added into my practice is traditional witchcraft. Now, I wouldn't say that I primarily am a traditional witch, and I won't say that I work with every aspect of traditional witchcraft, just like I don't work with every aspect of Wicca. I will call myself a Wiccan because I do work with aspects of Wicca that I can call myself a Wiccan, but there's a lot about Wicca I don't work with. And it kind of pulls into my witchcraft practice. One of the Wiccan concepts I don't abide by is the law of 3 and harm none, do what you will. I do feel like magic is gray. It's up to the practitioner, and if you need to do defensive magic or adverse magic, you can. And I do think that you should be aware of any consequences that might happen, but otherwise, you do what you need to. But going into traditional witchcraft, I really, really like what I'm learning about traditional witchcraft. I'm still learning about it, but from what I've learned, it's very similar to my own personal practice of how I practice magic. And I pull in traditional witchcraft for this because it does tie a little bit into my spirituality with tools that I'll use and how I'll perform rituals. Traditional witchcraft also is a magical practice. I mean, it is a magical practice, but for me, it ties into my spiritual belief system with some of the components of it. And so going into my practice, my magical practice, so I have my spirituality, but then my magical practice. So I have rituals and spells that I do, and that ties into the magic that I perform. I do work with traditional witchcraft. I do work with those practices for magic. I also do work primarily with nature-based spells and magic. I primarily focus on elemental-based spells and working a lot with herbs, crystals, and essential oils in my spell workings. And I also do add in, as I said, elemental based spells like candle magic or fire elemental spell. And I like to make spell bags with herbs and crystals for a spell or ritual use to carry with you, to bring those energies with you. And yeah, I would say that my magic in itself is very nature-based magic, outdoorsy magic, elemental magic. Herbs, crystals, and essential oils are a big thing for me in my practice. And being out in nature is a big part of my practice as well. So that is, I guess, a sum up of my spirituality and my magical practice. I usually only do spells and rituals for the Ispits and Sabbats and Souls and Elementums, for all of them. And that's where I do my magic, is with those. And then, as I said, my magic is nature-based, nature item-based types of magic and spells that I do. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on my spirituality and my practice, and adding in that traditional witchcraft. I am starting to learn about traditional witchcraft and incorporate that into my practice. So yeah, that's basically it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for enjoying the nature walk with me. Have a good day and a good night. Blessed be. Bye.